What's up, rockers? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram at talklouder_podcast, and our website, talklouderpodcast.com. I'm Metal Dave, along with my co-host Jason McMaster. And today we're happy to be joined by a friend of ours. I've known this guy for probably close to 30 years. I'm sure you've known him even longer than that. We've got Shandon Sahm on the Talk Louder podcast today. And most of you will probably recognize Shandon as the drummer for Pariah. He also did some time in the Meat Puppets and played with Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers. Of course, his dad is Doug Sahm, who in these parts being Texas, is Texas music royalty, bar none. So
made quite an impact, even worldwide. We talked to Shannon about, of course, me and Shannon played in Sick. Yes. Dave's shirt, for the people watching today, is an old Kiss tribute that me and Shandon and our producer Jared Tuten, who was also in Pariah with Shandon. It was a lot of fun. The point is Gene Simmons was in a band that used to cover one of Shandon's father's songs.
Yeah.
So that'll give you the reach. And that would have been Sir Douglas Quintet, She's About a Mover.
Yeah.
Doug Sahm was also in what a lot of people who might be a little bit younger maybe came to know, the kind of super group of like Texas music legends that was called the Texas Tornadoes.
Yeah.
And Shandon and his brother Sean, who plays guitar and sings, probably have done 100 shows with people involved with the Texas Tornadoes. Yeah. Probably doing tributes to their father, Doug Sahm. But today we're talking about Shandon. Shandon, I gotta say, is one of the most creative, eccentric, energetic. I'll stop there. It goes further.
Yeah.
It might sound like I'm like picking on him a little bit, but I'm not. It's all in love. But the guy is a riot. He's a Texas tornado for sure. Yeah. So if those of you who know Shandon, you know what I mean. Wink, wink. And he's just a little bit nuts, and all for the love of Shandon Sahm. I knew that it was going to run a little longer than we had planned, Dave, but I feel like we have a great episode in store with this one.
Yeah. Shandon's done a lot of great things. His time in Pariah was an interesting, short run, but very interesting. Signed to a major label, had a lot of potential. It's the classic woulda, shoulda, coulda type story. And I always love these stories when you hear them from someone who's that closely involved in it. Kind of gives you a behind the scenes sense of how the music business works and sometimes doesn't work. So Shandon shares a lot of that with us. And of course, as we mentioned, spent some time in the Meat Puppets and with Gibby Haynes, and those guys are pretty, speaking of eccentric.
Yeah. They got more than one motor under the hood too, great intentions, but they don't let them near the rose bush.
Yeah.
They might eat it.
Well, we've known Shandon for a very long time, and we're happy to have him finally on the podcast today. Shandon Sahm on the Talk Louder podcast. What's up, dude? Where are you, Shandon? I know you live in Amsterdam, but where are you now?
I'm at Old Torf in 35, actually right by the old back home.
Really? What brings you back to town, back to Austin?
10 shows. I usually play, because, we were talking about making money and stuff, and I get better guarantees in Texas and stuff, so I come to see friends. I come down once a year, so I don't burn people out, like everybody, like playing all the time, so I come down for once a year, and come to a show or two or three, I do 2 shows for the month and then go back.
Right on. How long have you been in Amsterdam now?
Dude, 5 years now.
God, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, I need to learn. Once I learn Dutch, I can take a test, and if I pass it, I'll become I'm a semi-resident. I can become a permanent resident. So I'm
Wow.
trying to work towards that. But I only know a few, phrases like "good morning" is "goedemorgen." Goedemorgen.
Goedemorgen.
Yeah, that's good morning. And midday would be "goedemiddag."
Goedemiddag.
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 All right. We're
She's
getting,
got it already.
Goedemorgen.
And,
Goedemiddag.
yeah. Hey, I wanted to say I love that elder poster behind you. The elder, Dave.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Chaos
yeah.
in the park.
Wow.
Yeah, that's,
I actually liked Ace's. I know it's kind of stupid, but I actually liked Ace's outfit. I think
the
he had
lightning bolt going. Yeah, I liked it too. It's like a bodysuit or something with a lightning bolt.
And you know
Yeah.
what? As Tommy Thayer, I never really liked how he looked as Ace because he has a different bone structure. But in that outfit, he looked the closest to Ace, I thought. Like closest to Ace.
Yeah. That poster was actually given to me. And I think the gig is a real gig, but the picture is obviously out of time because Eric
Yeah.
Carr was not around in 97.
It's so weird that they would put an 81 picture.
But it's
Ace.
not because, they're just trying to sell you a ticket.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So you're here to play some shows. What does your set list look like, Shandon? What do people hear when they come to see you play?
Oh, good question.
Well, right now, what I'm doing is, I don't know if you see this, but it's like a Psalm cover Psalm kind of thing. I've been doing a little tribute to my dad because
Awesome.
I'm working on new music right now. But before I get into a full set of new music, brand new music and stuff, I'm kind of transitioning. There you go, into that. But first, kind of doing a little tribute to dad because Texas, it's fertile ground.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you're writing new music. Do you have a deal, or you got any kind of deal in the works, or are you just recording at this point and then shop it around when it's done, or how's that going to work?
Oh, he's like everybody else. He just releases it on his own.
Yeah, release it online. And here's the thing, like, because Jason understands this. Back in the day, like to do anything or whatever, you had to like get signed. Well, now it's completely different. But that doesn't mean that you can't get a cool booking agency or find, even if it ain't a record thing, you can find somebody that can at least give you some shows. You can't
Getting new Shandon Sahm music out there is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's the distribution seems to me like especially I think that with the thing that you're the tribute. I love it that you're a tribute to your dad, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. But getting new music out there, I feel like with the obvious resources out there, that's the easy part. But the booking agent and being able to play throughout, if you're based in Amsterdam, do you play further out than just there in Amsterdam?
Well, that's a weird one because, I mean, it's very accessible over there. So I've already played Austria. A promoter guy called me and said, "Hey, I've got 3 shows, which I'll fly you there." It took an hour and a half to fly to Austria. So it's really easy to kind of do those kind of things. So I want to say I'm like Chuck Berry in this sense, not the talent wise, but that you bring.
You invented rock and roll.
No, well, as I said, not guitar. Chuck Berry in the sense of the hell rock and roll, where he goes and he gets a band at the places that he goes. That's what I don't have the money to fly my bands. So I have a Texas band and I have a Dutch band.
Right.
Who's in your Texas band? Anyone we know?
Oh, I'm sure you do. Danny G, Danny Brokaw,
Danny
and
Groucho, Amber sometimes, right?
Amber's in the band. Yeah, Amber's there. I've got backup. Heather Bishop does a great, soulful. She has a bad move. Backup vocals and 2 of the Beaumonts, the band Beaumonts. I got steel guitar, Tony Nobles, and I've got the drummer Gary First. All great guys, all good musicians, and great guys and girls.
Yes.
Do you find that over in Amsterdam and just anywhere overseas, wherever you may go, a lot of Texas artists will tell us that people are naturally just intrigued by the fact that you're from Texas. Forget what kind of music you're playing. There's just sort of this mystique about Texas. Do you get a lot of that elsewhere in the world?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, in the world, other than where I'm at, I'm sorry, I'm kind of
Yeah, anywhere, well, where you're at, or anywhere else you may travel.
It's fertile ground. A lot of them know who Dad is. If you go to this place called the Milo Moreau, I'll take you sometime if y'all ever show up. That's where I play gigs. A guy loves Texas music. He's got a poster of Dale Watson. He's got Dad. He's got Fabulous Thunderbirds and a Texas flag.
I think that's where Dave was headed with that. I feel like
there's a connection.
Texas artists have carte blanche in Europe, or anywhere really. For some reason, Texas has this, and I think this is where you were going, Dave. Has this sort of legendary? Oh, you're from Texas? You know, it's like they think, and especially Austin.
Well,
for some reason, Austin has this big love, big heart around it worldwide. And
when people ask me where I'm from, I don't say America, I say Austin, Texas. And they're like, Texas? Oh, I have Dutch friends that are fans of my dad that come and used to come see him. They'll still come and visit some of the other band members that live here. And they're like, oh my God, Shandon, I love Texas. I get to, eat alligator and shit, like, so it's pretty cool. And so there is a connection. The Dutch really like real music. I mean, the majority are probably all into the hip hop or the Euro, whatever. But the timers like us and the ones that support are all about the Texas music. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it really is. Once in a while,
it seems to be. And I want to ask you how you would classify your music, but don't answer that yet. It seems that because of what we're talking about now. It seems that anything that you could shove into the envelope of Americana or storytelling rock or storytelling music, whether it be from, Bob Dylan to Charlie Sexton to just like sort of Southern flavored, even though it's not country, right? It's kind of like where a Bob Dylan and a Willie Nelson and a, you know what I'm talking about. There's a whole lot of that. And like I would even say like Jack Johnson kind of stuff. It's just this very organic style of singing and playing. And, it's not all about, it's not about heavy metal, hard rock, punk rock, da-da-da-da. It's about the lyric and the melody and the sincereness of the story that the singer is telling. And that seems to be like a thing that your dad was all about. It also seems that Europe music fans, see how I'm not putting it in a box.
Yeah.
European music fans seem to really appreciate that type of craft. Your brother, does he come to Amsterdam and do things with you, or does he when you come to Texas, does he hook up with you and do some of your dad's music together?
Well, he does that. He doesn't do a tribute, but he's got, Charlie Sexton and a couple guys that join him, so.
Right. Okay.
He does that. And so we kind of do our little tributes, but no, I'll go see him when I'm here in town, but he likes his, not a ranch, but he likes his thing, his place with a few acres that he's gotten, 20 years ago with his llama and goats, and he really likes it. So he's sort of a homebody, whereas I want to see still, even though I've traveled the world, I still want to see more of it. Like me and Dad were very adventurous as far as like, what's over there?
Yeah. I just seem to think that you guys, it might have been a while ago, like we're talking quite a while ago, where you guys both did together a tribute to your dad.
Okay, that was 2015, and that was with Steve Earle and a bunch of people. And actually, that's neat that you brought that up, Jason, because I think on November 6th, which is Dad's birthday, Austin Appreciation Society is relaunching the DVD. I don't know if you heard, Joe Nate Patowski did a documentary about it. We're all in. And it was shown in 2015 at South by Southwest at the Paramount Theater, so we got to watch it. And then after that, it just kind of not really went away. But maybe somebody, or I don't know if it's Appreciation Society, but somebody is relaunching it now, and they're having
they're reissuing they're upping the party about it. They're making more awareness to the film, maybe.
Yeah.
it usually means, time out for a second. It usually means that there wasn't like a distributor who bought it or wanted to release it or license it. It was more of like a film festival special.
The money of licensing the music, I think, was the hardest thing, because
You could have been caught up in the estate.
well, Sean is the executor of all that.
Who is? Sean? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all, it's like an SDS, Sean, Don, Shandon, but he is the executor of it all. But he always keeps us informed. Like, we just did a thing a couple of years ago. I forgot, is it Rider T-shirts or Night Rider T-shirts? They have like Johnny Cash on. We actually did a thing with them, and we'll get, it's kind of expensive for the shirt, but Doug Sahm shirts are rare. So, but if you buy, we got Johnny Cash, Doug Sahm, Merle Haggard, it's the alternate, that's the other genre, alternate country.
Yeah, and that's kind of would fit into what I was talking about, Americana slash alternative country, whatever you want to call it, because it's not country music to me at all.
No.
Like your dad and what he did with the Texas Tornadoes and all, that's not country music.
No, but let me tell you, to me, what's missing is the Western. So if you had Garth Brooks or whatever, nothing against that. But if I like country, I like my Western with it. Like rock and roll, I don't like just rock. I like rock and roll. So I like country and Western.
I get it.
When it's country, it's Garth Brooks and it's pop.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
If it's country Western, it's a little bit more rugged.
Yeah.
So for people that are listening that may not be aware, your dad is a Texas music legend, Doug Sahm, and your brother, who you were just speaking of, Shandon Sahm, also a well-known musician in Texas. I remember seeing him in a band called Presence out of San Antonio.
The Randy Rhodes of Austin. I mean, of Texas, sorry. San Antonio, Texas. The Randy Rhodes of Texas, he totally was.
Yeah, I remember. I saw that band so many times because they got every opening slot that came through San Antonio.
And I was always at the side of the stage in parachute dance, because I'm 4 years younger. So he's already, 17, 18 in his little outfit, and I'm like on the side of the stage. But that's where we got a lot of our inspiration, not only from the toys, but that was a little bit later. But at that time, Sims went out and bought a Jackson bass because he liked the way the Presence bass player sounded, and when you're first getting your sound, so he got a Jackson bass, and Kyle got the same kind of guitar that Sean had, and he liked to do the dive bombs and loved Randy Rhodes, and so that was, we were picking things up like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Jason Carlos, the singer, was with Sebastian Bach before that was all big, the lanky, long-haired, really pretty guy, but real lanky, and kind of give it, but he sang like Steve Perry.
Yeah.
He was good,
cool.
Man.
Hey, at that time I was 16, so I thought it was cool. But I saw a concert of it, and of course it's a genre in the clothing. Minus all that, it was fucking just as good as Skid Row. Totally.
Oh yeah.
You were telling me sort of off camera earlier about a connection there, and I totally get it. And it was completely, I was trying to relate it to what a lot of other artists, including myself, were already doing at the time. So when you think about the influence that your brother's band had on you and all your friends, and it would have had an influence on you whether Sean was your brother or not, is my opinion.
Sure.
Because the influences that I had from my friends' bands who were, a little bit older than me, even as far back as when I was living in Corpus Christi, had the same effect on me. Just dudes that you went to school with who were a few grades ahead of you. You went to their house and they had Marshall stacks.
Right.
You're like, oh my God, all of a sudden they're the coolest kid in town.
Okay.
And you're trying to figure out how you can get a Marshall stack in your living room, without your parents losing their minds,
That's
so
right.
the idea of all of that happening in all these little places worldwide, that's a movement that's starting to happen where our feeble young minds are destroyed early.
Well, see, the thing is, it's funny, like, Gene Simmons will say rock is dead. It's not. Rock is alive. But here's the thing. It's just not in the charts. You know this, Jason. When we were all doing it, and there was a million rock bands, the Faster Pussycats, and the McBride, and it was all in the charts. Whether you hate Poison or Skid Row, that was all rock in the charts. It's just not in the charts anymore. So now, if it ever does, come back in the charts, you might see it a little bit more of a lift than you do, but now people say whatever. It's just not the charts. Plenty of people are playing rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, to be clear, I think Gene came back at a lot of people that wanted to argue the fact, fuck that, it's not dead,
It's just not in the charts. It's not selling like, dude, remember? You had Nirvana, you had Skid Row, you had Guns N' Roses,
okay.
all in the charts.
I think what Gene was talking about is more or less, sure, the numbers part of it, but more like, what people did to get their rock and roll is now dead. Standing in line on release day, standing in line to buy a ticket,
At a concert,
the attitude, the love for it. Now you can just pick up a phone. I want some rock and roll, and I don't even care what it is, and press a button, and then just some bullshit comes out. That's what I really feel like Gene is really kind of talking about. It's like that sort of whole sponge. My whole life depends on rock and roll. Those people are dead. But I'm looking at two of them right now, so obviously we're not dead, and there's another way to argue it.
Yeah.
So when Gene looks in the mirror, he should say, well, I'm not dead, so rock is not dead. But he's not really, he's looking at it outside of his reach.
Well, for him, it's all about money, too. So I was just thinking, if it's in the charts, let's just think right now. If rock and roll is in the charts, and we had all these bands, lots of rock bands in the charts.
Yeah.
Give a boost to rock music. I think it might, not like a scene again, but it might go, it can do that. Man, things go in waves all the time. Save your clothes, whatever, like it all comes back.
When you think about, there's more than one band, but I'll just pick a band, Greta Van Fleet. Okay. Doesn't matter what they sound like, what they look like, but they look like a fucking rock and roll band, and they sound like a fucking rock and roll band. So that's a duck. Quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck.
Yeah, that's right.
They may not be in the charts right now, but they were kind of like, that's a thing. And all the young people are talking about Greta Van Fleet all of a sudden. Rock is not dead. It's just not Kiss number one.
And it needs,
Maybe Gene would say that because he's not number one. And
I just think if it was in the charts, you'd probably have a, what do you call it? When a jumper cable, when you jump a car, like give it a boost, like wow, it's in the charts. It's not just these underground people or these people just supporting it. It's all in the charts, and there's rock bands in the chart. I mean, you remember there were so many rock bands back when, like if there was a Pariah right now, like DJ's Toys Out, whatever, like, that was in that vein, I think it would do really good because it's not as crowded anymore. You don't have that crowdness that we had with the Babylon ADs and the Tricksters and just everybody wanted to be
I think that it's watered down by the same way, just with a generation of younger bands, and it's more of like a pop thing. It's not necessarily a cock rock thing like what you're saying. I think it's different.
Have you ever heard? I've never heard of them, but they're on tour with Motley Crue Stadium Tour. Who is this classless act? Bad name, by the way. But.
Well, they're actually doing really well, and if you kind of follow them and see numbers and stuff, they're probably starting to rival people like Greta Van Fleet. They're kind of not. They're not there yet.
There's not a million rock bands out there fighting to get signed like there was.
Well, I think I could argue that. I think that there's a bunch of them, but we are of a certain age now.
Do they still go to rock?
If you would like me to speak for myself, I will. I am of a certain age now where I don't give a shit what's on the charts.
Yeah.
And I don't care about Greta Van Fleet that much. They're a badass band.
I support rock and roll. I support Greta Van Fleet.
That's right. Any band that's playing rock and roll right now has guitars.
Yeah,
I'm all about it. Yeah, whatever it is.
Dirty Honey's another one, and
Dirty Honey is another one. I didn't want to make the hot list, but now
I've never even heard of them.
I think we just did. So Classless Act, Greta Van Fleet, Dirty Honey.
Yeah.
I haven't heard one lick of any of these songs.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm saying that there are a bunch, and that proves. Thank you for saying that, Shandon, because that proves to me your thumb is not on the pulse because you're busy with other things, because you're occupied doing your other things. You're not reading Metal Edge magazine.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Magazine in the back seat of your caddy There's not a, there's, you know,
For the environment, that's what I'm saying. So there's not really magazines anymore. But if they were to be like, just say if rock just
there is magazines. There are magazines.
not when you go to HEB. I mean, you
There
got
are magazines at the HEB, dude.
rock magazines. You still got to. You still got to name me one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to because I don't give a shit. That's the point I'm trying to tell you. If you went and if you really looked, I think that you would find out, oh shit, a rock magazine.
Well, I guess
These guys are a rock band. You know, there's more out there than you think. It's a healthy, friendly, I love you, Shandon argument. That's all.
Oh, of course. And I just think that it's weird. I just thought that maybe that was one of the things that if it wasn't, when it was in the charts, everybody's going to want to do it to fucking whatever, right? So it fosters that. Rap was big, and everybody wanted to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying?
They still do.
Yeah, but we're underground. Like, we love our rock and roll. We don't care what the trend is.
To make it full circle and move on, the comment about Gene Simmons saying rock and roll is dead, he's talking about it from another mind's eye.
Not just money with fucking, because they're not all the charts.
It's not just charts and numbers. I feel like he's talking about a whole other thing. It may not be clear that that's what he's talking about, but that's how I read it.
Because if the elder would have sold...
Danko Jones released an article, might have been in the Huffington Post about it, and it was spot on. And he was arguing what Gene had said, and he kind of made some clarifications as to what he
yeah, that's right. Yeah. But we still support it. We have the flag. We'll always... I mean, rock and roll is... I like all music, man. I like all types and everything. If it moves me...
Right.
But rock and roll is what made me... You know, when I saw Kiss, I mean, I don't know where you want to start because there's so much... But, you know, that ruined my freaking life seeing Dynasty.
We're in the right place, but let's move on. Let's move on because we're going to run out of time.
I wanted to ask real quick, since Shandon obviously grew up in a very musical household. Your brother is a great guitarist. You made your name as a drummer. Your dad was super famous. Was there any of the like the Van Halen brothers kind of stuff going on at your house when you were a kid? Were you and your brother jamming together or swapping instruments, or were you kind of mutually exclusively moving in your own directions, following your own path? Tell me a little bit about growing up as musicians in a musical household.
The last thing you just said was the correct one. You know, he's 4 years older. So, you know, we didn't really jam. I mean, we played with Dad and stuff before, but we never really got together like the Pantera brothers or anything. We kind of both just did our own thing because, you know, you got to understand, like, Sean was doing presents, and then, you know, Dad would say, hey, come on tour with me. So he did that kind of thing. And then in high school, I had a popular band called Pariah. And then right out of high school, I mean, really, a year and a half later, we got signed to Geffen. It was 90. So so it really, you know what I want to say? I didn't really know, like, when I was 15 or 16, like, I was surrounded by music, but it wasn't like, I want to be a drummer. I didn't know really what I wanted to do. Got in a band, and I just stuck with it. And so I want to say music found me, what's the word for it? Music, it found me. Yeah. I didn't know that that's what I wanted to do, even though I was surrounded with it. I went to all the concerts and dad shows and present shows. I didn't really know at that time, 15, 16, really what I wanted to do in life. But then as we got older, we started getting in the band, playing with Sims and Kyle. And then right after high school, things just started looking up, right? So I just went with it. So when the Pariah broke up in 95, I was like, are you a musician? You had your fun. You got signed. You got to do stuff. Are you a musician, or are you just a little rock and roller star that wants to just kind of, hang out and chicks or whatever? And I said, no, I'm a musician. So if it wasn't for that, after Pariah, I wouldn't have done Meat Puppets. I wouldn't have done Gibby Haynes' record. You have to, Jason, you have to stick with it. And from day one, I just went on this thing. Wow, popular band. Oh, shoot, we got signed. Oh, okay. And I stuck with that. And then when it was over, I still stuck.
Yeah, you kind of got on the train early and just didn't really, you were off and running pretty quick at a young age.
I've always done my own thing. And all the things I've had isn't because I'm Dope Sam's son. It's because, the talent. And that's the way it always should be. It opens doors, but if you don't have the means or the talent to go further, because the door can shut on you.
Right.
Just as it opens.
So who's the most famous person your dad ever brought home when you were a kid?
Well, see, some of that was when I was so little, like I was literally like, la, la, la. But, Jerry Garcia and but I used to go do all that stuff. Yeah, Jerry Garcia came to the house. I used to do, okay, so hanging out with dad, he would pick you up when you're a teenager. He'd go, hey, son, come with me. We'd go in his car, and he would go on the set of freaking Honeysuckle Rose. And you're like, oh, hey, Willie. We're going to go visit Willie. Okay, like that's what the adventures was. You'd get in the car with him, and you would just go, and you don't know where it would take you. And it might take you to Willie's place. It might take you to, one time, he goes, come with me, son. Where are we going? Oh, we're going to go see Bob. It was freaking Bob Weir at Soundcheck. We just met him at Soundcheck. It was just like, Bob? So,
hey, Uncle Bob.
It is adventurous with that guy. You get in the car and you just don't know where you're going to end up, who you're going to meet. Dad from day one never had to have a job. He was a steel prodigy, guitar prodigy at 4 years old. From the time he was 4 to the time he was 58. It was always music. He was the breadwinner in the family. Like his mom, my grandma was like, he's the one that's going to do something. Because when you're poor back in the day, he's the guy that can maybe, get us out of poverty or, the hard times back in the day.
Yeah.
Well,
you guys, Pariah is the band that kind of, you got your first major attention, I guess, with Pariah.
Right out of the box, that's, yeah. We flopped commercially. I mean, Toys did way, way better, but we did get the whole, because sometimes when you get signed, that doesn't mean that your record comes out, right? So we get signed, okay, here's our record came out. Our record came out. But when we talk about that little era, remind me, because I got something that's going to blow you guys' mind about what we should have done. And Jason, you might know this, but when I tell it to you, it's going to be like, bam, bam, bam. Like, how stupid of you. But you look back and we were just young and we shot a little too high, for the Geffen. Do you want me to just tell you what it was?
Yeah, tell us now. Yeah.
Jason, you know who John Sykes is? Not the guitar player, but you know who the industry John Sykes is, right?
No.
Oh, half owner of MTV. At the time that he wanted to sign us, and he sent a picture of a house with our pictures in it saying, Chrysalis wants you at our home. Bonnie still got it. I know she does. So we got courted. This was after we getting signed and everything. We got courted by Chrysalis, who wanted us so bad and loved Shatter. They already had a vision. Shatter Me. They loved Shatter Me. Thought it would have been, and it's a great tune. That's probably one of the best projects. But he loved Shatter Me. John Sykes. He was ready for this drum roll. Half owner of MTV. And guess what? Another drum roll. Would have been our A&R guy.
Wow.
Put it together. Would have been completely. Now it's all hearsay.
I'm not throwing. Yeah. I was just going to say you can't. I mean, you can water the plant. It doesn't mean it's going to grow.
But I was telling you that
you can be planted in the sunshine. Doesn't mean it's going to grow.
That's right.
You can have all of the proteins and attributes and all of the love and everything. Doesn't mean it's going to be the biggest tree in the forest.
So basically, that was our decision. Go with Geffen. Oh man, we want to be on Guns N' Roses and all right. Yeah, go for that. So
that's something that
in that direction. I just think that it would be a different story, or maybe not. But we had a guy that was totally behind us. That would have been our A&R guy. Who was half owner of MTV? Come on.
Yeah, you would have been in heavy rotation.
All he would have had to done is lift his little pinky, play Shatter Me, please.
Yeah.
It's
one of those hindsight. It's one of those what if, right?
And that's signed by Tom Zutop, but we were kind of ignored. I mean, he's a good guy. I know him now a little bit more. We kept in contact. But back then he was like, well, before I go and listen to your mixes, I got to sit out in the parking lot. Jason knows about all the eccentricities of these people. It was like, and eat some certain cookie or have a certain drink before I can come in and listen to. It's like, that's what we signed up to.
Yeah, Pariah is the classic story of having all the ingredients lined up. I mean, you were signed to Geffen Records when the roster included Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, White Zombie, Peter Gabriel.
Dog.
Who?
Salty Dog.
Salty Dog. I mean, there was a lot going on at Geffen Records at that time. You had Tom Werman producing, who put out hit records with Motley Crue and some others. You were recorded by Tom Zutaut, who had a major hand in the success of Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. You had the look, you had the sounds, and
the timing.
The timing. So the album comes out, and the album that we're talking about is To Mock a Killingbird. Came out on Geffen Records, but it wasn't released until '93.
And the scene totally changed. So that was the other thing. Just looking back, we're just reminiscing about some things.
Sure.
We would have had our album out much sooner on Christmas. It would have been, 90, late 91, early 92 or something. By 93 of August, it was completely over. Like, I almost wish that Geffen, if they really would have cared, they would have said, you know what, Alternative's really big. Do you mind, before we represent you to the world, do you mind like getting a little makeup, maybe having a little, we would have done that just to see how it went.
I feel like you guys were already headed that way, even with
some guys are already there,
even the album cover of To Mock a Killingbird had a sort of psychedelic thing, which fits in an alternative rock world already. You guys already, dude, your dad's Doug Sahm. He's pretty much part of the cosmic cowboy thing, which is alternative rock in the 60s and 70s.
I'm not going to say invented it, but you show me a guy with a cowboy hat and long hair on 1968 on the cover with my brother of Rolling Stone. If you can find somebody 66 and earlier, then I'll give it to him. Dad pretty much created the cosmic cowboy.
I understand that.
Really came later. Doug was first. Doug ruled the roost. In Austin, 70, 71, 72, Willie comes around. He sees the audience. What was Dad's audience? Hippies and rednecks.
Yeah.
And Willie went like this, skyrocketed over Dad. But Dad at first had it. And so he saw Dad's crowd and went, that's pretty groovy. And then just took it to a whole nother height. So I just want to let you know, Dad is the first. He really, truly was. I'm not just saying for his mother.
Hey, I'm cool. I'm cool with giving him that crown. What I'm talking about,
he doesn't get that credit really. When you see in Texas Monthly, what did you see? Texas Outlaw Country. Who was on the cover? Willie, Chris Christopherson, and Waylon. Now, Dad was in the article. There was a picture of him. But he should have been on the cover. That's my only thing. That's mine. He should have been on the
that's
cover.
just that's you getting.
He was the first.
You're trying to push your dad, and rightly so, and I understand that. He
was the first, regardless.
He's a big influence. And all of those guys.
That's all I'm trying to say.
All of those guys know your dad. They knew your dad. They love your dad. Obviously, they love your dad. But for whatever reason, whatever was sort of taken and regurgitated is what
really took off. It just took off. It just got on the people just kind of,
But I think that Pariah, back to you and your band, I feel like this is where it would have been a natural progress. You know who did the same thing? Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains was this like cock rock band.
I remember,
And they changed their sound a little bit. They had they just kind of left the bright clothing at home and dressed kind of what I would consider normal. Like they got off work and they just went to do a gig, and that's what they look like.
Same with Pantera back in the day.
I feel like it's the same sort of like normal. It would have been a normal progress for that tone to change because it was already going there.
Geffen didn't really kind of say, hey, you know what, things are changing. Do we want to, because like we came out, and that's cool because we are who we are. We came out kind of looking like Guns N' Roses or whatever. When alternative was big and all that was passe already. See, so if they would have said, let's just mess with you a little bit. Let's give you this kind of image. Can you do this maybe a little bit? They come out with the same record, but with a different maybe little image that isn't so Guns N' Roses, and let's see if it works.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It's like
Sir Douglas Quintet.
That's called development. If the label is not going to work with the band to maybe get a few more years, a few more gallons of gas in the tank, just because the climate's a little shaky, I believe that would have been a good way to do it. But it seems to me, you correct me if I'm wrong, they just kind of took you and like, we better put this out.
No, for sure. And to be honest, because, I know Jared does this. Is he on it, or is he in the background? I don't know.
That's funny.
I want to say hi to Jared. Well, I saw him last time when peeking on his. He's not. Okay.
No.
Well, I love you, Jared. You're freaking awesome, man. But just to tell you the truth, it was timing. Timing was awful because if
Yeah.
Well, about timing.
That's what we're all agreeing with here now.
Well, here's what I wanted to say. So out of you guys got signed in the early 90s, but the album didn't come.
90. I have it on
Okay,
here.
you got signed in 90. It took 3 years for the album to come out. And so what I'm saying is I understand half of the conversation where you're signed in 90, you're on Geffen Records. Geffen might see you as sort of a new Texas version of Guns N' Roses or something like that. But your music definitely has echoes of things like Jane's Addiction, Mother Love Bone, things like that. So
Thank you,
how is
David.
it so
That's a natural thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
But what I'm saying is, so why didn't the label take advantage of that? Because it's easy to say, well, the label dumped us because we were a cock rock band and cock rock was no longer in vogue. But you guys weren't a cock rock band.
No.
You actually could have fit in with the times, but I guess the label wasn't pushing it in that direction, or what?
Honestly, it's like a lot of things to me. It's just, and this is all, like I said, looking back. So, the name, Sims didn't like the name Pariah, especially after it all went down. That was a whole other thing. But I didn't like the name of the record. Tamaki Killinger just didn't have a good ring to it. I didn't like the cover. I think half the songs are good. The other half sounds like Dokken, But we were young, I mean, we were learning.
Yeah. I'm just saying that out of
that's just me personally. I love Jesus Freak. I like Palace, but let's also think. Yes, Jason knows this. The way Sims used to write is he did borrow a lot. He would. We'll give you an example. In your song, you had a song called a lyric. Tease and pleasing. Da-da-da-da, reason feeling for the feeling. He came and wrote feeling for my feeling or feeling for the feeling. That's the way he did it. So, I mean, hey, everybody has a way to write. But he did. He would go, I can feed on the powerless. And went, I want to write a song called Powerless. And it does say, feed on the powerless. So all I'm saying is, and Jason knows this too, we really were trying to find, right at that time, like, sing like Jason, because Jason's badass, or sing like this. And at first, Dave was finding his own way. And I'm sure the guys helped him, a little bit with trying to say sing like Jason. But there was a point where he did become his own little thing guy after that. But it took a little while, and it was a lot of, we just, I don't know. I guess we wanted to be on that level.
Everybody has to find their own way.
Yeah.
And you guys were all young.
That's the way Sims wrote.
Not everybody can, take out a yellow pad and write on it what they're going to wear the rest of their life on stage. What they're going to sound like. The song. I'm going to write 100 song titles, and these are the songs I'm going to write throughout my career. Right. You don't preempt. You don't plan. You go with an emotional draw. Your influences are okay, but it doesn't mean that you have to. And I wouldn't even say that with the examples you gave would be plagiarism. I think that it's more flattery and dancing a little close to those flames. You want to be burned by them enough to where maybe people will like it because of that. Maybe they'll dislike it because of that. It's interesting that you don't like the cover and the name and some of the songs and everything, because that's what it sounds like for a lot of people who are rushed to make a record or write songs.
Our last demos that we did after we got dropped, I wish we could have had those on the record.
I know the batch of songs, the second record that was never released. I realized that
would have been killer record.
Is the record that should have been your first record.
That's right.
I realize that. So for our listeners and Talk Louder audience watching and listening, there is a batch of Pariah songs that you may or may not know is in existence. They're recorded and mixed and sitting somewhere. May or may not make sense to try to reissue them, or maybe you could call it memory lane or what if or whatever, and it would be something you could put up on a website somewhere. But the material fits where the climate of music was going in a business stance.
I agree with that, but by the time we recorded the record, or maybe by the time we got signed to the time we recorded the record, we were already such a different, like that wasn't a good representation of the first time. It just, we were already beyond that by the time we recorded that, by the time we released it, you know, like.
Here's a good example. I like Jackal. I'm a Jackal fan. When Pariah is on tour with Jackal and you guys come out, you were already had changed into what you guys were feeling, and you were playing those new songs that weren't on the record that you were supporting.
Yeah.
You guys had already changed into what in seemingly natural.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be by trends or the radio, you know, songs on the radio, or just whatever you guys were into. You guys had already were a better fit as to what was happening out there, and then someone put you on tour with fucking Jackal.
Label mates.
But the thing, and that's great. But the thing is, if people bought the record and then they went to see you guys open for Jackal, man, this is going to be fun. And then you guys look and sound like what would have been your second record. They're probably like, wow, this is a little upside down. And I'm not saying it hurt things, because you guys should be comfortable with who you are right now or tomorrow or the next day, and not try to put on a costume that fits what the record is trying to do.
Right.
You guys should keep going. You had no development. You had no developmental deal happening with your label. It was not really a relationship at that point.
No, and
they're not trying to develop your band into what you were becoming. Oh wow, you guys, this new shit is killer. Blah blah blah. You know, it didn't.
Right, and that's kind of my point in all of this. It's like,
where's the time the record came out? We had just already just grew so much.
It's not Jackal's not doing anything wrong by having Pariah on tour with them, and Pariah's not doing anything wrong by sounding and looking the way who you are right now at that point, right? But there's the confusion is what the label did or didn't do. And then there you are, and what you guys, you know, could have been. It wasn't seen early enough and coddled and developed and talked about. It wasn't talked about.
Yeah, that's my point. If there was a band that was more equipped to handle the shift in times, Pariah would certainly meet that criteria. So. And I don't understand why there's not a guy in a suit somewhere in an office going, okay, the alternative rock is now the new big thing. These guys, Pariah, who we've already signed and have on our roster, are moving in that direction anyway. Let's put them out there and build some momentum on this.
Sounds to me just like letting it crash. I said
they don't do that. They don't do stuff like Dad used to do. He would sign 4 deals, and then he would actually get 4 records out from that deal. They don't, you know, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Days or even back then. We signed 1. I mean, you got 2, Jason. You got 2 out of.
Well, we signed a 7-album deal.
So did we?
And we got to do. Yeah, of course, that was normal. Yeah. And they budget everything accordingly. They have it all set up, and then whatever happens, it's like, you know, it doesn't matter. So the contract that you sign is, if you go through with that, they just leaving room for negotiation if you sell a shit ton.
It's a bank loan. That's what. They're just bank loans. This company is going to give your band a loan, and
before it all went south, talk about were there any memorable tours or opening slots? Because obviously there had to be some fun in all this.
Well, there was lots of fun. But Kyle, kind of when you were talking. By the way, I love your podcast. I've been watching the Kyle one and Chris Gates, and congrats on all this.
Thank you.
I'm really proud to be here with you guys.
Awesome.
We had a lot of great fun times, of course. I mean, like when he was talking about, I remember we were there when the whole Madonna thing. Hey, wow, and hey, your Sim's here. Can you have him come? I remember all that. So it was all good. I mean, the shows were fun. It was all cool. I'm trying to think of anything, in particular that had happened. We were just having so much fun.
Yeah.
And just blazing through it. Like right now, it's like I try to like what I'm doing here is, cherish this and kind of like soak it in a little bit instead of just running through it. Right. Yeah. So while we're just, 20 years old, you're running through it. But yeah, there was a lot of fun times. I mean, I can't, we did the whole thing. Jason, did that too. We talked to Max Norman. Mike Klink came and saw us at Aquafest. You know, like we did that whole thing, that same thing with you, you know. So we had lots of fun. I mean, Bob Ezrin, we had dinner with Bob Ezrin. You know what he told us? I take your songs and I completely rearrange them. And we're like, oh, I don't know if we should do that. And then later that night, I think Jared got appendicitis
He
after
did.
that.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
He
he's
did.
told us that story.
On the way home, he was like, "Guys, you need to pull over, man. You need to take me to the hospital." Yeah, I remember.
He sat there with us and said, he goes, I know who the singer is. I was so amazed. I was like, how do you know? I can just tell his talking voice, and I've heard him sing on the songs that he's heard. I was like so impressed. I didn't realize like, wow, he can just tell who the singer is by hearing him talk. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
And he said, I take your songs and I do everything. But again, like we did the thing with the toys with the Motley Crue thing. That was fun. I mean, it would take a book, you know, to like specifically, but again, Madonna, doing their video was cool. We just had a blast the whole time. So it was all like fun. There's little things that stand out, but it was all just, it seemed like it was all cool. And then when things started going south, that's when everything kind of was. Before that, it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
And for people who are listening who may not know, our episode that we had with Kyle Ellison, the guitarist in Pariah, he was telling us about the story where Madonna noticed you guys and had you, a couple of you guys or the whole band in one of her videos.
the brothers.
The Ellison brothers were in one of her videos. So yeah, I mean, you guys kind of had, even that was like, you know, something pretty incredible.
Adventure after adventure at the time. I mean, you know, you got to think we stayed at the Willie's World, which is across from the ARC on Congress, $250, all bills paid. You know,
Oh, you're talking about those crappy little apartments over there.
oh yeah, that's now demolished, and now there's huge apartments.
Yeah, they're not crappy little apartments anymore.
Oh, but $250, all bills paid, and
Well, hey, old South Austin will never be. I mean, South Austin today will never be like the old South Austin it was.
Oh, sure, of course. But if you don't know that from there, you think it's still like this.
That's right. That's right. You moved to Austin now because you heard that it's cool in 2022 or whatever. It's like, okay, that's great that you think that paying, you know, $1,200 a month for an efficiency one-room apartment is good.
Plus bills.
And cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But man, Pariah was a good time. It was a lot of it was timing issues. It was really, you know, the two guys asked me in high school. You know, Sims was a senior, and me and Kyle were in ninth grade. And I was like, one year we were actually all at the same school. Sims then graduated that year. But I remember, hey, you know, would you play drums? I go, I know how to play, but I don't have a drum kit. And it just went from, you know, friends having fun to actually, oh shit, this is serious. And then, our competition now that we're signed as Def Leppard. I don't like how it moved from this fun thing into, oh God, okay, it's business now. Now we got to worry about, isn't that when we just did it back then? We were just doing it. Now we had to worry about doing it.
I've always said, and I still say this, you need to play music for the right reasons. And it's because of how it makes you. It's because of how it makes you feel inside, not because how many you're gonna sell. Or
that's me now. I'm all about the music. I just embrace it, and everything else is secondary. You know, if you pick up a girl or somebody gives you weed, or whatever, that's all secondary. It's always been about the music. But when you're 20 years old and you rock your hair out and girls pay attention, you kind of like. You're always about the music, but you're kind of distracted by some other things.
Yeah, distractions is right. I mean, everybody has everybody. You know, when a soldier goes to war, he doesn't wear his bathrobe.
Yeah.
You know, he puts on a uniform. Well, that's what rock and roll is too, right? When you're going to work and you're going to be on the front lines, you have your uniform on. But you need to like what it feels like when you put it on. You need to be able to be that person you are when you sing a song and write a song and play a song. You need to be able to be that person all the time on the inside.
Because if you're not like, you know, if Marilyn Manson wasn't the same as he was, and if you get famous like that, then you get stuck with an image that you don't like. No, you better like what you present to the world or have it be yourself. Because if you get famous from a certain image or no image, whatever makes you famous, you're stuck with, or that's what people remember you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
why.
like,
That's why I really like the Alice Coopers and the Iggy Pops and the Dee Snyders and the David Bowies and the. That's why I like that, because they're the same person all the time in every interview. Highly intelligent people these are, the names I just dropped. They give speeches. They are Fortune 500 speakers. They are keynote speakers. They write books. They write, these are the people that we can only hope would be the ones to sell rock and roll to the masses, because it's coming from the right place. They're not doing it because of the money per se. They're doing it because, Iggy Pop, he became Iggy Pop so he could be rich. Fuck no, man.
That had no,
because he's a true rock and roll artist. He's a true poet and artist.
He's never had mainstream success either. Like, he's had, China Girl. He's made money off certain things, but he's never had, like, top 10 hit of something. And,
it's not about that.
I know.
Right.
Alice Cooper, same thing. He's writing about dead babies and, teenage Frankensteins, and he's a horror show. He's a Halloween. He's big at Halloween. Well, guess what? Every day's Halloween for him. It's not really like a marketing strategy for him. He built this persona. You were saying Marilyn Manson. That would suck to be Marilyn Manson all the time.
Just having to wear that stuff all the time.
But Alice Cooper is Alice Cooper all the time.
He can take it off.
He takes it off and he calls it, like, he puts it in the closet. But even when you hear him talk and he talks about Alice like it's third person, it's the same, because it's coming from the same brain.
And he's a lifer too, to me.
Highly intelligent. Oh my God, great advice, great father figure. Can debunk any argument about war, politics, movies, of course. He can debunk anybody and still make you feel welcome to the party, even if you're not on the same team.
I just feel that it's a calling, like, I don't feel like, okay, well, I've already had this or this thing, and now I'm going to go, learn another craft. It's like, all I really know is, like, music. And I couldn't ever see myself just like, when people, that have dabbled in music and then now they work,
Right.
So I just could never imagine that. Like, oh yeah, see me when I was a rock star. Like, I still live it. I want to live, because I like all of it. I like the recording. I like the live music, to play live. I like to meet people. Like, I'm not burned out yet. I'm not jaded. I still have that thing in me, like a kid when I saw Ace Frehley picture. Like, I still have that, and I want to always keep that, because that's what keeps me going. And
that's beautiful. That's important. I think that we all have that, and I think that all of us have to do whatever it is we have to do to feed our families and pay for the things that we need to be comfortable in life as we get older. Those things become important to us when we start to age a little bit. It's like prepare for the future a little bit. I think that still being able to support yourself by being a music artist in any capacity is amazing. And so if you can still do that, whether it be by, I mean this comes from the heart. Your dad is the reason, right? You are from an artist family. So you were kind of, I'll say it, you were kind of fucked. There's not really anything else you're supposed to be doing. You're born into it. Yeah. And that's exactly where you're supposed to be in my eyes. Thank God that you have that, and that your brother has, that you guys have those gifts that your dad had naturally, and it's just, it kind of is in the blood.
A lot of it too, and we're going to go back to timing, because, after Pride, so with the Meat Puppets and Gibby, we signed a deal too. I've been on 3 different major labels. They just all didn't sell.
Yeah.
But I had good shots. I got 3 shots at least. Atlantic, Geffen, and Warner Brothers, which was Gibby's thing, because when we signed it, they specifically said, if this record does good, you automatically are going on to, because it was a smaller label.
Yeah.
It was distributed by Warner's. So they specifically said, hey, if this, and this was 2004, but they said, if this does good, we're going to automatically just go to be on Warner's. It's going to, but it didn't do anything.
Right.
So all this stuff, it's just maybe been bad timing. But here's what I want to say. Regardless of the timing, regardless of any of that, what is the most important out of everything we just talked about? The music you leave behind. If it's good, and I feel it is. You know, you listen to Gibby's record, you listen to the Three Meat Puppets records, Rat Farm, Lollipop, Golden Lies, the stuff I put out. I just want to make sure whether it sells or not, whether it goes tinfoil or multi-platinum, whatever, that the music is good, because that's the only thing that's going to last in the very end. If it doesn't sell, but somebody gets on the internet or Spotify and hears that and they just love it, that's really the bottom line, right? Regardless of any selling.
Of course.
That's what we're left with.
Of course.
Right. I've always been envious of guys like you and Jason, of course, anybody that's, was able to record an album that will outlive all of us.
Regardless of sales.
To me, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
to me, the fact that you're able to leave that piece of you behind and for people to discover for forever and ever is just...
Pocket killing, but you're right. And people can listen to Gibby Haynes and His Problem or Lollipop or Golden Lies, and hopefully they remember, even 100 years from now, like, hey, man, that's good. It's what you leave behind, regardless. We all want to sell. We all want to be successful. And I that's great. But it's the product that you leave. It doesn't matter if it's a painting, if you're an artist. It's the product that you leave behind. If it's shitty, it's shitty. But I think when I look at my little discography and everything, there's some great stuff in there. And I just hope that 100 years from now, somebody might discover Lollipop Meat Puppets, go, oh, that drummer's really cool, or Pariah, or whatever. It's that's the most important, regardless of sales. Is
when you're exactly right.
When you were in the Meat Puppets and in Gibby Haynes's band, Gibby, of course, for those who are listening who may not know, the singer for the Butthole Surfers, you guys were out touring, Meat Puppets and Gibby. You were out on tours with the heaviest hitters of the day, right? I mean, weren't you out with like Stone Temple Pilots and stuff like that?
Yeah. So when because I've been in the Meat Puppets twice. Let me just back up just a little bit. After Pariah, Kirkwood from the Meat Puppets and Kyle, they started writing songs. Kirkwood's brother was kind of out of commission with drugs, so they started writing songs. So I have to thank Kyle to this day, because he's the one who said, oh, I knew a good rock drummer, Shandon. And through that association, I've been with the Meat Puppets almost 11 years. I'm not with them right now, but in the incarnation of the last 20 years, I've did 11 years of my life with them. And I have to thank Kyle, because Kyle, he could have suggested J.J. Johnson. He could have suggested Kyle Snyder. He didn't. He suggested, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Through that association, I've had 11 great years in a classic, alternative classic grunge band. Now, we opened up for Foo Fighters. I've met Novoselic and Grohl numerous times. When we opened up for Soundgarden, and that was phenomenal. They literally came running out right before in the backstage area in the back, when we were about to head out, and they were like, not Cornell, but the bass player. What's that guy's name?
Ben Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Came out, oh, man, the Meat, you're on our show. Oh, you're on our three. He was just like a kid in a candy store. He loved the Meat Puppets. And then Kurt goes, hey, man, this is our new drummer. Oh, man, nice to meet you. Then Matt Cameron saw us, and then we had 3 shows. After the first one, him and his kid were on the side of the stage watching us play. He's like, oh, I'm going to get my kid. We're going to go there, because it was great.
Wow.
So the only place I've ever played in Vancouver, only one place I only played at one time. What was it? The Vancouver Arena.
Wow.
Poor
I never played a club there at all. The only place I've ever played is the Vancouver Arena. That's the only one time. Mastodon, it was Meat Puppets, Mastodon, Queens of the Stone Age, and Soundgarden.
Wow, that's a great gig, man.
Yeah. It was bad to the bone.
That's awesome.
I again, I'm really appreciative now. I want to do good and just absorb it and not just run fastly through it and have it be gone and look back. Like, I want to try to, you pick the flower instead of just, whatever, take it, and you take a little more time to enjoy what's around you.
It's nice to see you, just in general, Shandon. You look great. You sound great.
His hair looks fantastic.
You've cut out. Yeah, your hair looks great.
I'm going to tell you that sometime.
My wife cuts his hair for those who are listening.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, we got that. Handing out cards to the salon.
Kim.
Yeah, it's important to bring this up just to you from a friend to a friend because we've known each other forever. I mean, I feel like I've known you since you were a child, and it's kind of like you're born into this. Your dad is a legend, but it seems to me that you never really leaned in on that to try to cash in ever. When your dad passed, it was more like his legion. You were already part of it because you're blood. Yeah. So there wasn't any big money grab or anything like that. So keeping all of that in mind, you're born into it. Right out of high school, you're still a punk ass kid. You're a Kiss fan. You're a rock and roll freak. You had your brother's influence. You joined your high school, your buddies in school and we're in a band called Pariah, which led you into, basically threw you into all of these other opportunities.
That's exactly right.
The Meat Puppets, the Gibby Haynes stuff, all kind of coming from San Antonio, really, because the Buttholes and Gibby and probably the connection that the Buttholes even may have had with the Meat Puppets a little bit. But then the Austin thing is very sort of close-knit and family. Everybody knows it's very incestuous. I'm just you could draw a straight line, and there's some bumps in it here, some bummer moments, but there's some really good spikes in it for you. And I feel like as long as it's not going like diving, and it's never taken a dive, in my opinion, of where you are as Shandon Sahm. I feel like it's been it's better to just like be able to ride this straight road you're in and grow old gracefully, doing exactly what you were fucking here to put on the earth to do.
I didn't know that at first. Yeah,
you're blind. You're blinded by other things when you're a child. You don't know. But then eventually you're like, oh, shit, I'm not going to do that again.
It kind of lands in and like, okay, do you want to keep doing this? Are you a musician? This is
right. The questions of life, like what is the meaning of life? What am I supposed to be doing right now with myself? I have all this crazy energy. Which button do I press next? Right.
That's right.
So you were given these, I feel like it's not even you were given these opportunities because you were kind of like, you were just given these choices of places to go. And of course you said yes, because you're a musician.
That's right.
It's true.
I didn't start off, that's the thing. I really was like, well, what do I want to do? And, maybe I want to be a doctor or whatever. And then you get in this, and it's just kind of, so music chose me.
Yeah.
I was going like this. What should I do with my life? It happened. And then after Pariah, it really was a test of, okay, you got to do more than what most local, but you got to get signed. You got to So you played rock star. Are you cool with that? Are you done now?
Sure. But you're never done. I mean, after you take off the costume, or someone the rental company calls and goes, hey, you need to bring the rock star costume back to the costume rental place that you rented. You owe money on it. It's like, I didn't want that anyway. I want to play music, dude. You remind me more of your dad the more we get into this conversation. You are free spirited, and your dad was such a free spirit. He was just good to go. What? I'm ready. Give me my hat. Ready to go.
That's right.
I think a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm from San Antonio. A lot of people don't know Pariah's formed in San Antonio. I think a lot of people associate you with the Austin music scene because you did relocate, but you formed in San Antonio, right?
Obviously, Clark High School alumni, Sims, Kyle, and me. The Pariah started in Clark High School.
So how much of the success of Dangerous Toys was an influence on you guys moving to Austin? Any?
Not the success, not any of that. That's all influential. The reason why we moved, Kyle probably mentioned this, there wasn't really many places to play. San Antonio was very a couple of things going on, whereas we had management. We had Wayne Nagel and Kevin Womack managing us, and we had funner and more shows kind of. So we moved to Austin because of that. That's really, but the Toys thing kind of came after we see them, they get signed and we're like, wow. And, so that's a whole different thing. But to get up there is because we had management and better shows. And Austin was kind of like moving to LA of Texas, right? So
yeah, there was more business, I think, and South by Southwest happening there, and
so it was, that's why we moved there, because
More
of the
exposure.
environment.
SA doesn't stand for San Antonio; it stands for South of Austin.
Yeah. Have you seen that sticker? There's a bumper sticker that says "Keep San Antonio boring." I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh shit! No, I've never seen that. Never seen. To me, San Antonio is not boring, man. You can spend the day there and have the best fucking time of your life.
Dad said San Antonio is real because it's funky and it's real. Well, he's right.
Amen.
It's
Amen.
real.
I wish I wish I owned a house down on like Blanco or right there by downtown San Antonio, because oh my God, the food and the culture alone, just to be a only half pissed off old man and be living in South Austin, man, I could get the best Mexican food. I could see a show at the Aztec Theater or the Majestic and walk.
Yeah.
I could walk.
That's right. And San Antonio is it's real, and it's fun, and it's real. There's no pompousness to it,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you've never sort of like shunned San Antonio. I'm glad that you've always sort of worn it on you.
There's nothing to really shun. I mean,
right.
The reason why I moved to Amsterdam is I was just like I was telling you, I was tired of 35 traffic and strip malls, and I just wanted to be surrounded by art and music. So everywhere I go in Amsterdam, there's a statue, right? And you're like, who's that? Oh, it's Mercury. And it does something. It's food for my soul, man, because I just needed a change. Like, I haven't been in a car for fucking almost a year. Since I got here, I got in a car. I take my bike. I ride the train. I'm on my bike every day going and doing my errands. Everybody does that. And so, I can get lots of exercise. I eat really well. I haven't drank alcohol in 25 years. I don't drink coffee. I've been vegetarian 25 years.
Wow.
Right when my dad died, I looked at him and I said, what did he eat? What did he do? It was very stressful. He wasn't very patient. So I try to practice patience.
Yes.
Because I don't want to end up like that, because we have that same constitution.
Yeah. I see that. I see that. I mean, I didn't know your pops, well, but the times that I got to spend with him, I didn't really put it together really until right now that you have the same sort of disposition or constitution or constipation, maybe that you guys, I feel like there's you guys are blood. It's the same sort of thing. So, learning from your blood and your elder blood, I think is good. And I like it that you mentioned earlier that you were actually, side of the stage watching your brother who is 4 years older, and you were like, whoa, so it's just kind of all of this sort of is this trickle down economic that you have going on. You're learning from your brother and your father and your family, and
picking it up, sponging it up. But so like with the toys, instead of being on the side of the stage, we were like just in the audience doing the same thing. But you're not my brother, so we didn't have all the access, but we would be at this, watching it, doing the same, feeling the same way as we would watching presence on the side of the stage. Just like, wow, this is cool.
Well, you guys, Pariah, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, but you guys, Pariah, are not the first band to take our idea of hanging a steer skull on the drum kit.
Yeah. Oh, I know that.
There's plenty of other bands that have started doing that. I think it was a trend that I will say the Toys started, though.
Yeah, sure. I mean, dude, you got to understand that you make it your own after a while. You pick up your influences. Sometimes you might break influence, but if you put your stuff in the blender long enough, and you put a little Devo and Kiss and Black Sabbath and Dangerous Toys and Pariah, whatever, and you put it and you pour that smoothie, it should be your own special concoction. Hopefully.
Well, everything's been done. I mean,
well, that's what I mean.
Everything's been done.
But what you do can be unique. You know what I'm saying? So you have to present it in a way.
Don't you think that when someone actually, you know, really understands your music, and you can kind of see them turn a different color when they listen to your song or your music or see your show or whatever. And the biggest compliment I've ever gotten is when someone comes to me, it's like, you know, man, it doesn't matter what anyone else told me about your song or your record or your band or your video or anything until I met you, and I can say this to your face, you're the real deal. That's the biggest compliment anyone's ever given me, is when they can finally come to the realization that you are the real deal, in quotes, I'm quoting to the camera. I think that is it. It doesn't matter what the record review or the people with a pen or the journalist says. Sorry, Dave. It's when they finally come like, whoa, and the whole thing changes, and they're like, you're the real fucking deal, and I didn't realize it till right now.
You've always to me, we've always proved it too. Because you know what? You practice what you preach, brother. You don't just talk. You don't go, oh yeah. You're like out there doing it. And to me, I'm all about action. Action speaks louder words. So
I appreciate that, but I'm generalizing. Like I feel like you're the real deal. I mean, what you put into it is what someone else is going to get out of it.
I try to be as genuine as possible. And what is me is me. Like I like having my hair long, right? Whatever. Like. I try to be as genuine as possible.
Yeah. Well, so, it doesn't matter how long your hair is.
Oh, but you know, I mean, whatever the clothes I want to wear tomorrow, if I don't want to wear this, you know, you see what I mean? I can cut that. You know what I mean? I try to be myself. I'm not like back in the day when everybody had hair. I'm sure there's lots of people that had it because it was getting them laid. And it was getting you signed.
Oh, well, it was the trend. Cool. Yeah, I mean, you follow the trend, but you know, after a while, it has to be a comfortable thing. Yes. Like if someone goes bald, I mean, you can't help that. They wear hats. You don't want to wear wigs and shit. They wear hats. Well, a lot of people wear wigs, but they also get hair plugs, and it turns into a different. But you know what it is? That doesn't matter. It's like they need to be comfortable. They need to be comfortable about what they're trying to represent and be inside their own soul. I would hate it that someone would wear a hat or a wig because they want
to be 20 again.
And that those things would make them uncomfortable. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you look like. I don't care. Especially now more than ever, it doesn't matter what you look like.
But back in the day, you know, when you saw like a dude with, you know, the guy in Thunder with his shaved head back when everyone had hair, you were like, that's unusual. Or one guy in the band had short hair. It really was like, why does he grow his hair out? You know, you're like, fuck, it's rock and roll. But
well, because you don't know, you're not such the wiser man when you're saying those things. How come they have a dude with short hair? Well, you know, there might be another reason. Maybe they're a master at their instrument.
Yeah. But, you know, when you see Guns N' Roses or Poison, you know, they all didn't have, what was like the Beatles. Everyone has, and that's where it came from. We want to look like we're in a band.
Well, it's uniform. It's the uniform. I said it earlier. You got to have your uniform, and that's what I mean. You have to be comfortable in your skin.
When Dangerous Toys walks in or walks through an airport, they go, hey, that's a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a look and a uniformity or whatever, and it used to be much more important, is what I think we're all saying here. I wanted to talk real quick because we can't talk to Shandon and we can't talk about Pariah without bringing up Sims real quick. I just want, for people that are listening that may not know the history of Pariah, sadly enough, Sims Ellison, the band's bass player, took his own life in 95, and that basically, for all intents and purposes, ended the band. But out of all that darkness came the Sims Foundation, which is still in existence to this day, and anyone that's interested can look this up online. The Sims Foundation, named after Sims, of course, has done a tremendous service to the Austin music community, and possibly even outside of Austin. I'm not real clear. But they basically help musicians with healthcare and mental wellness and all that sort of thing. It's a community that often gets overlooked. It's a community that often can't afford that kind of care. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Sims Ellison and the Sims Foundation. If anyone's listening to this that knows anyone that's experiencing any of those sorts of issues, Google Sims Foundation and take a look at what they have to offer.
Because Dave, it has helped a lot of people. We know, Jason, I'm sure Dave, you too. People that have went there. I guess maybe Chris Gates. I don't know. Maybe Ben Burton might have. I don't know. But there's some people that have gone, and I don't know how successful it is, but they have the avenue to go in and have somebody.
Yeah.
No, there's a high success rate.
We've seen it in action, and yes.
To be clear and not to drag it out any longer, I feel like music fans surely don't shrug or just let it be swept under the rug that a lot of artistic people, a lot of art creators, a lot of songwriters, a lot of performers, industry struggle. It could be anything, mental capacity, struggles, the drug abuse. Sometimes those go hand in hand. They may put on a facade because they have to perform. They have to do more drugs to go
Game face.
to be. Yeah, they put a game face on. And this is terrible because they're not really living their music the way that because they're hurt and they're uncomfortable, and the Sims Foundation has a high success rate in helping people who are artists who struggle with inner demons, whatever it is. There are places for people, for musicians and creative people to get help. Who may and it's probably even it's easy to say it's run by music industry people. Management, the whole thing is put on probably by people who are music fans, who are songwriters themselves, and
so out of a major tragedy comes the Sims Foundation.
Right.
And turn the tragedy into helping other people, and that is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that, Sims passed away in 95 and the Sims Foundation came along shortly thereafter. So the Sims Foundation is pushing almost 30 years of helping people. This is not a fly-by-night operation. And so 30 years, pushing 30 years of helping people and, all in the names of Sims. So
I was going to tell Jason, because, he was your roommate, y'all lived together. And the last couple of years, it was really kind of touch and go because he would always tell me, because he was always the kind of guy that liked to keep up with the Jones. But one thing that really bothered him was just Pariah was too metal. He wanted to change the name of the band. And after a bazillion times of saying, we need to change the name, I told him, I go, dude, Sims. At first I said, well, we're Pariah, and we've made our name that way, so don't change it. But then he kept talking so much about it. I was like, man, if that'll make you happy and it makes us grow as a band and go to the next chapter, let's do it then. I'm cool with it. But at first I was like, we're fun. So I started to kind of, because I just wanted him to be happy, but he wasn't really happy in his own skin for some reason. There's something itching at him. So all I wanted to say is I'm very lucky in the sense that, like Iggy Pop, right? I have a lust for life. I'm lucky that I've never been on any antidepressants or any of that, just because what's around the corner is always intriguing to me. Oh, wow, this person you might I just have this about life, and I just, not that I don't have bad days, I feel like we're living out our destiny and we're trying to do as good, and we treat people good, and you just do that. And I'm just glad I never got to that point, maybe where I was fixated on something or really heard about something to where it destroyed my life. Because, dude, I passed before I was 31.
Yeah, no, you're making a good point. I feel like a lot of people I feel like people in Sims's life didn't really know that he was struggling in those ways. Right. Like you said, I was his roommate. I was his roommate for the last year before he passed.
He was uncomfortable. He would go, Jason, he'd be a little bit jumpy, but that was I thought that was just his personality.
Well, I think that could have been medication. The thing is, I never knew that he was even on medication, is the point that I was making. If all of us have friends, we may not know what their internal demons are at work. We may not realize that they're struggling with something and they're trying to do the best they can. Just even being there where they are, showing up on time, blah, 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 being able to have a job, being able to show up to rehearsal. It may be this whole thing they have to work themselves into, you know, to just to walk through the door. And you don't know that about people. And that's how I feel like what the Sims Foundation is all about.
It didn't help things by Pariah putting all our eggs in one basket. We just went, you know, and by doing that, we didn't almost have nothing to really kind of fall back on once that collapsed, you know. And then I remember Sims having like, oh, you know, I got to get a job, and you know, everyone things were unraveling. I know, but to him, he doesn't really didn't need that.
Right. I see what you mean. Yeah, he
started falling apart. Like instead of it being better, it was
counting on this one thing to happen, and then when it didn't, he was like, "Yeah,
see,
I don't like to think that that's what destroys. I'll generalize here. What destroys people's
many things. He was also seeing a lady that was horrible at the time. He'd met this really cute lady, but horrible inside, and I can honestly say that with that time. And she messed with him too. So it was the band going downward, not being as popular as it was, passe already. Now this is big. Now we need to change our name. You see all the struggles. He was dating a lady that wasn't supportive, and you know, all that at the same time. But I didn't realize, like, I just thought maybe he needed like some attention, or like I didn't really realize that it was a chemical thing. I thought it was more like he needs to keep busy because that's the way he is. You know, we would go to the Metal Edge office. Pariah would be sitting there talking to, you know, Jerry or whatever, and he would be, okay, we're ready to go. And we go, Sims, we just got here. He'd go, so we're going to go? You know, like, he was always wanting to leave. You know, like when first you get there, he's already wanting to do something else. And so,
yeah, that could have been a flag, you know.
I know. I'm not a therapist, but God bless, you know. Yeah. I want to take the time really quick to thank Wayne Nader and Grant from the Farm Boys, and like Michael D, Michael DeVorkin. All those guys have been really cool. Like since I moved here, they're like, hey, do you need anything? You know, need some help? It's just they're all.
Yeah, I love the guys that you just name checked.
Awesome.
Those are all fantastic people, and behind the scenes, if you will, you know.
The ones that helped me, like Grant, helped me fix my house up so I could go to.
Wow.
What I'm doing. You know, Grant came over every day for 3 months.
Wow.
I did all the pulling of the carpet.
I want to end on a high note. I didn't wear this shirt for nothing. So for people that are listening and not watching, I'm wearing a Sick t-shirt, and Sick was a Kiss tribute band that Jason and Shandon were both part of, also with our producer Jared Tuten. So obviously you guys were a Kiss tribute band, but you didn't do the makeup and that sort of thing. It was just jeans and t-shirt, vintage Kiss tunes. You guys are obviously
and a good time.
And a good time. And you guys are obviously...
We weren't having a good time. It was time to pack it in, and that's pretty much what happened.
Right. Well, you guys are obviously huge Kiss freaks. So I wanted to ask Shandon.
Ruined my life. Kiss ruined my life in a good way.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite piece of Kiss memorabilia that you own? Because I know you've got some above average stuff, I think.
Yes, I do, but I sold it all. I sold it all. I kept the Kiss doll. I kept a couple of things that were close to me, but I got rid of it all. Man, I purged so much. I feel so good. But let me tell you, let's end on this one. So, you know the Steelers commercial where the guy, Joe Green, gives a little kid the Coke in the jersey, right?
Yep.
That's what happened to me with Ace at the Dynasty show. So let me just tell a quick story.
Okay.
Through how we got to meet Kiss was Dad did a thing. He knew Neil Bogart. Neil Bogart they knew each other really well. Dad did a single called, you can go on YouTube, Roll with the Punches, and I'm Not That Cat Anymore. It was on 45 of the blue Casablanca label saying Sir Douglas Quintet. Is that not badass?
That's cool.
Just in itself. Casablanca, produced by Neil Bogart, Sir Douglas Quintet.
Wow, yeah.
Cool. Okay, it's rare. I've got one left. So we already knew who they were, or they knew each other. My mom has a secretary voice. You know how it is back there. Somehow called and went, Yes, Doug Sahm and his kids. We'd love to come see the Kiss concert tonight. Somehow, she got a hold of Gene's bodyguard. Gene's bodyguard said, totally, come on down. Be at this place at 7 o'clock. Dude, this is so freaky, so I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible. We get down there.
How old are you in 79?
8, 9.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. 9. Yeah. And Sean was 4 years older, so he remembers this more. But, okay, we get there. Guy lets us in. All of a sudden, about 5 minutes later, the garage door opens up and a big limo comes in. It's Gene and Paul. They walk without makeup. First of all, this is 79, so I got to meet Kiss with makeup and without makeup. So that's why I ruined my life. So they come out, they see Dad, and they're like, "Hey, Doug, blah blah blah." Dude, this is not a joke.
So Gene and Paul walk up to your dad. Hey, Doug, what's up? Whoa, that right there. You could stop right there. That's the best.
Maybe not exactly like that, but they knew who each other were. Yeah, and it was like a greeting, like, "Oh, yeah, Doug. Oh, no, it was because Gene said they used to play She's About to Move Her in his cover band.
That's the part of this story I remember.
Wow.
Okay, so let me tell you the awesome part. We go into the guitar room, right? Gene wants to show Dad how balanced his guitar is. So he takes the axe bass. Imagine this, Doug Sahm with an axe bass. And he goes,
cowboy hat, axe bass.
He goes, Doug, put your hands up in the air. And Dad put his hands up in the air and it stayed. He goes, see how it's perfectly balanced. He's like, wow, man, what a trip. Okay. Then what happens? We're talking. Boom. Garage door opens again. It's freaking Peter and Ace in the limo without makeup. Now knowing that Peter has already gotten fired and he was just finishing out the tour, right? But we didn't know that back then. He was the one that wasn't nice. I went up to him because I knew all the facts of Kiss. So I went up to him and I go, dude, you love Rod Stewart? He goes, yeah, like signing my thing and just get away, kid, because he's on coke, right? So he wanted to probably just go score more coke. But did that. I didn't get to see Ace without the makeup, but then check this out. We're hanging out. Paul gives me and Sean a fucking Pepsi. Just like the commercial, man. I'm not fucking kidding. Okay, here comes the Mean Joe Green part. He goes, here's a Pepsi. We're going to go in. We got to dress up, hang out, and we'll see you when we get back out, right? Okay, so an hour later, come out. All right, they come out like, and I'm just like, whoa, like, Ace, the guy, Dad, because he was my man, dude. And I'm just like, it was like seeing, like in Wizard of Oz, the real deal or something, just like, holy shit. I walked up to him and I said, I loved your outfit. What are those? He goes, oh, and he was drunk, by the way, of course, and eating peanuts, popping peanuts in his mouth, and he was swaying because he's saying, well, these are rhinestones and these are broken glass. Okay, here's the awesome part. Talking to him, lights go out. It's time to go. He turns, and just like me, Joe Green, I go, I'm not going anywhere. I'm with Ace. The roadies let me walk with Ace all the way to. So we're in the little hallway, lights go out, and I'm doing this as he's walking. So it's the Mean Joe Green thing, little kid and Ace walking, and I'm just looking up.
Man, they need to remake that Pepsi commercial.
Okay, so
quick.
I'm almost done now. So, and then the roadie, she very gently just, come on, you gotta go. And then he went to the side and said, okay, so he goes on stage. We're on the side of the stage. Ace is fucked up. He throws a thing of a cup of we thought was water, but he threw it and it hit a cop right in front of us. Oh. And we could smell the vodka. As soon as it broke on him, you could just smell the vodka, and it had a lip ring, a black lip ring. And I tried to grab it, and somebody fucking grabbed it right before me. Okay, then Ace took off.
Oh, you mean the black lipstick? It had the black lipstick on it.
Cup with black lipstick. I could have grabbed it. Somebody grabbed it. He took off his things and threw them to the side of the stage, but he threw one into the audience, and Sean caught the fucking Dynasty thing right here.
Oh.
A roadie came back and says it's very expensive. He had to give it back.
Oh.
Okay, so to end this all, I had a great time. dad, being a dad, we're leaving. And he goes, son, because this is how cool, right? Like I was raised right. Son, you see that roadie over there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you think that guy, he's the reason you got to meet your favorite band. And I go, thank you. And then what happened? 3 days later, I get a fucking letter from Gene Simmons saying it was great meeting you and I enjoyed it. Shandon Sahm, Spring Forest, Babcock Road, Shandon Sahm, Spring Forest, Gene Simmons.
Didn't you send that to us? Didn't you email that?
I think I sent you a picture of it.
Yeah, I need to make sure that I have that so we can put that in our intro so people can see that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I know we're taping this, but I mean, do you go back and?
Yeah, we edit in post. So Jared will make sure that's in there. If you can make sure that we have that, we can make sure it gets in your interview.
Okay.
That was great.
That's incredible, man. What a story.
So you know now why I'm such a fucking Keys fan. Like it just like walking and he gets 6 feet, just like all the way to the stage. They let me walk from the little hallway all the way to the end of the stage, and then politely a little roadie guy just whisked me away while he went the other way. It was unreal.
Wow. That's awesome.
And I swaying, popping peanuts. Yeah, well, these are rhinestones and.
That's hysterical.
That's a great story.
Without makeup and with makeup. Dynasty, October 1979, Hemisphere Arena.
Wow,
that's a great story.
I'd be with Dad, and we'd be walking around in Austin. All of a sudden, oh, hey, Doug, someone would recognize him. Come on in. Who's playing? AC/DC. Who's that?
Right.
Little kid. Bon Scott.
That's amazing.
Auditorium.
Yeah.
We got in free to all the big shows. And then just to just say one quick thing, I was raised in clubs. Dad would be playing Soap Creek or Armadillo. I would be laying on the couch till 3 a.m. He would do 3 sets. Son, it's time to go home. Or I would ask everybody in the club, got a quarter? Got a quarter so I could play pinball all day just to keep myself busy. Sure.
Yeah.
But I grew up, Armadillo World Headquarters, Soap Creek, Rome Inn. That was my daycare.
Yeah, you were on the dirty couch in the dressing room.
That's right. Taking a nap until Dad was done going. That's
why you are the way you are, because you slept on those. I don't know what this stain is on this couch next to my head as I take a nap.
My dad was also doing a lot of acid when I was conceived, so I could.
Well, we weren't there. So
we were a hippie family. We were, again, Dad was here first. It was not like with the music, but the scene, and then really came in. So that is the history, and I always want to turn people on to the history of Texas. And if they really know, they understand that, Dad was there before.
Well, you're obviously part of your dad's legacy. Your dad it's like he's still here. It really, really is. Like he's like a Ronnie James Dio is to like hard rock and heavy metal. Your father, Doug, is like a, because it's like Dio's just over there, just kind of like hanging out over there, and like your Doug's just over there. And it really is like he's still with us. And I'm really glad that you and Sean are still kind of, periodically out to keep his music alive via your blood and in your own performances. Hey man, thank you so much as a friend and as a fan.
Jason, I wish we could, there's so much more to talk about, but love the Toys, always have. Great first record. Dave, you've got an awesome wife, awesome kid. That's the thing, is to kind of just look back at our lives and just know that we're blessed and we have good things, even though bad things will happen to us here and there. We've got it good.
Yeah,
we all got it good.
Yeah, we do. If you work hard at what it is you do and stay yourself and stay true to yourself your entire life, you're always going to have it good.
And what is the saying you just said? If you love what you do as your work, doesn't matter if you love dentistry. But if you
that's right.
What you do, then you never really work a day in your life.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. On that note, take us out, Dave.
Shandon, thanks so much for joining us today, man. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave Glessner with our special guest today, Shandon Sahm on the Talk Louder podcast. Thanks for joining us, man.
Talk louder.